Hi guys, welcome back. We left off in the last part, okay, part 3, where we basically said we were going to do this last part of configuring a DMZ, static NAT and access control list. Let's get right to it. So at this moment in time, guys, we've got potentially maybe some PCs out here on the internet that need to access this web server. So this web server here is sitting here. Let's just have a quick look at its IP addressing. It's got a private IP address 2.3, a default gateway of 2.1, which is the interface here on the router of the ASA. But essentially, at the moment in time, if someone tried to go to that IP, it simply wouldn't be able to go through it. So in other words, if I tried to do even such thing like 192.168.2.3, it's going to stop right in its tracks. And you can see here, actually, it doesn't even get too far before it actually starts saying, hey, I can't get there. Okay, and you might say, well, why would this guy be coming back with this message? Well, over here, this is the router going, hey, I've no idea who this 192.168.2 network is. How do we know this? Well, if we go enable show IP route, we'll see that this guy's routing table doesn't have an entry for the 192.168.2 network. It doesn't know anything about it. So what we're going to do is, the first thing we're going to do is set up this 2 network. But again, even if we did set this up, we still wouldn't want this guy to go using that 192.168.2 network address. What we'd want to do is we'd want to do some static NAT, whereby we could configure an address in that sub range that the ISP is giving us, so that when an address comes in around this number, forward it through, so punch a hole through the firewall to allow it to pass through into this demilitarized zone. Okay, so allow certain traffic to go through to the web server. So let's get straight into that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my ASA and we're going to configure. So let's have a look at what we've got at the moment. What we've got at the moment is, if we just have a quick look at show switch VLAN. Okay, what we've got is we've got 2 VLANs, one inside and we've got one outside. Okay, VLAN 2 being outside, and we can see that this is VLAN 2, and this had a default of 0, which is very untrusted. We have then a VLAN 1, which was 100, which was our most trusted network. So what are we going to put this DMZ onto? Well, the idea here is we need to put it between 2 to 99. So again, somewhere in between that. Now again, we could choose 50, we could choose 51, we could choose any number in between that. So again, it's not our 0 network, and it's not our 100 network. So what I'm going to do is, the first thing we've got to do is set up this interface. So I'm going to say interface VLAN 3, and then I'm just going to say IP address. We need to give it an IP address here, so 192.168.2.1. Okay, so this is going to be the default gateway for this guy here, this server. And I'll give it a /24 255.0. And what we'll need to do here, guys, is, because of the limitations on packet tracer here and our licenses, I need to say no forward interface VLAN 1. So what I'm essentially saying here is that I'm not going to be able to channel traffic from the DMZ over to this VLAN 1. So send traffic through the DMZ over here. Okay, so this is just a limitation of the packet tracer and the simulator. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say name interface DMZ, and you can see it's set this security level for DMZ set to 0 by default. However, I want to change this because, remember, our untrusted side, our internet facing VLAN 2 is set to 0. So what I'm going to do is I want to set this. Now again, this could be set to security level 50. In this case, I want to say it's 70. So now we've got one, if you like, interface the inside traffic 100, the outside to 0, and in between that we've got basically we've got 70. So let's run through now, before we go any further. If we have a look now at that command that we put in a moment ago, show switch VLAN, we can see we've got basically a new VLAN. All of the at the moment, it's called DMZ, but at the moment the status is down. And you'll notice no ports are assigned to that. So what we want to do is we want to assign ports, well, just port Ethernet 0/2, and we obviously want this to come up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say interface, and I'm going to say Ethernet 0/2, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say switch port access VLAN and in our case we want this to be VLAN 3. Once I do that, I can obviously go do a quick check on that command again, show switch VLAN, and now you can see the port has come up. Why has it come up? Because we've got something, a connection connected to that. So spanning tree is just happening there. That will hopefully go green in the next 30 seconds, and we can continue on with our configuration. So at this moment in time, guys, we now want to say, hey, if any traffic comes through now, how do we get it to go to this interface? Because this is a private IP, we need to give it a global an address that maps through to this private address. So if, for example, the ISP gave us this range, we know that so for example, we know that 209.165.200.225 is taken because that's on the ISP's interface. We know that 226 is taken because this is the interface here, but we also know that 227 will be available. So what if we said anyone on the public internet could communicate with 227, and then we could pass through the traffic, map it to this 2.3. So that's what we'll do now. We'll create a new object and we'll map it to the host name. So what we're going to do is we're going to go object and we're going to say network, okay, and we're going to say DMZ and server. So we want to map this to our DMZ server. And then what we're going to say is we're going to map it. So we're not going to map it to a whole network here. We're just going to map this to just one server. In this case, it's going to be 2.3. And now here comes the NAT command. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do some static NAT. So this is going to say NAT. And you might remember this command. If I use here, it's going to say, well, where do you want to do this NAT from? Do you want to do this from DMZ to outside and outside back to the DMZ? So what I'm going to say is DMZ to the outside. And then what I'm going to say is, I'm going to say static. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to map it to this address. So I'm going to say 209.165.200.227. So what this is saying now is anything from the internet that passes through to this outside interface on the Ethernet 00 will be mapped to our internal host of 192.168.2.3. Once I press OK to that, we'll exit. We've now got that to pass through. So the next part of it is, so we're not finished yet. Obviously, you might say, well, will that allow the traffic through? Well, the answer to that is no. We still have to create a little hole that will channel this traffic through because by default, it will block the traffic. So if I did try, for example, to get from here over, if I open up a browser, so let's just actually try and ping that address here. I'd expect this to fail. So 165. Let's just check the IP. 165.200.227. So if we're trying this now, it's gonna fail. Okay, we should have 4 request times out here. Okay, and you might say, well, why is it doing that? Why is it failing? The reason being is we have to allow the traffic. It's getting to the router, but the router is basically just, and I shouldn't say router, the firewall is just discarding the traffic. So again, if I go back to simulation mode, try that again. So literally if I try going from, well, let's just go from in here and let's try hitting the up arrow and going again. What's going to happen is it's going to get to that router. It's going to pass all the way across, but this guy's going to say, sorry, I see you're trying to come through me. I've got a rule set up, but I don't have you don't have the permissions to go through. The access control list is missing. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to set up a little access control list. So I'm going to go back into configuration mode. I'm going to go to access list. I need to set up an access list. So this is now I'm going to say outside to DMZ. Okay. So I'm going to say permit. And what we're going to say is we're going to say what traffic do we want to permit in this case? So in this case, I'm going to say ICMP, okay, traffic. So that's going to hopefully, I'm going to say any source going to the host of 192.168.2.3. Okay, so once I do that, it's going to say any host from outside of my network come through, get to the ASA, it's going to allow the ICMP to come through. Also, guys, because I want to set this up as a web server, I also need to allow TCP traffic. So I'm going to need to add another command or another, if you like, access control entry. And I'm going to say outside again to DMZ. And I'm going to say permit But this time, instead of ICMP, I'm going to put TCP. I'm going to say any host, so from any source address out on the internet, going to 192.168.2.3, and I'm going to say equals the port. Now, what port am I going to use? Because I know that it's www or port 80, I can state that. The final thing to do is to actually apply this. It's like applying an access list to a router. I need to apply it on the in interface. So what I need to see is the traffic coming into the interface, I need to apply it here. Okay, so any traffic coming in to this ASA. So the last step of this is to go access group. Okay, slightly different. Same with an access list on a router. I want to put the same DMZ. And I want to say the keyword, again, could be going in or out. In our case, the traffic is coming in. It's going to say, what do you want to do? In this case, I'm going to say the interface. And then finally, what I need to do is I need to say it's going to be the outside interface I want to apply it on. So what this essentially is saying is, I want to allow this access list. I want to apply the direction coming in, and it's going to use the interface address of, in this case, all the traffic coming into the ASA from the outside interface, and it's going to apply this access list. Once I press enter to that, I now should be able to go back and do a little quick test. So before, when we did a quick test, okay, and it's pinging there again. Let's try doing that. Let's hit the up arrow. Now, if we go through, what should happen is it should. Before it got blocked at the ASA, this time it might have to do an ARP. Okay, so in this case, it's ARPing to say, hey, I'm looking to do that control. And in this case, what's happening is I'm going to lose my first ICMP. But what I'll do is I'll go back to my PC. If you like, I can spend a bit of time. I can just keep pressing. It'll eventually time out. But what I'm hoping is that it'll send another ICMP. So eventually it's going to time out. I might need to fast forward the clock in a moment. Oh, here we go. So the first one, here's the second one getting launched now. So I can see in this case, it timed out the first one. Now I'm going to keep pressing play. Hopefully this time the ASA knows the MAC address of this server, so it should be able to pass it through, and on it goes. Now this guy will respond and pass it back. So here we can see now this PC is waiting still, waiting. Once this guy comes back, so I press it again, he should get a response. Okay, so happy days. I can see now the ping response is going through. So what have I just done, guys? I've allowed an entry, basically an outside person to communicate now with this web server. Now again, that's for ping traffic, but really the important traffic that they want to get to, if I have a World Wide Web internet address here, and again a website, what I should be able to do now is, and again, if I go back to real-time mode and allow those pings to go through, we get all those responses. If I now, the moment of truth, guys, is, can I access the website? So in this case, I can go to this browser and I should be able to type in that web address of 209.165.200.227. And in this case, this should direct me all the way through the ASA and to the web server. And it should give me back a page because we allowed TCP traffic. Once I press enter, there we go, guys. Mission success. Well done and congratulations. We've now got access from our external network, or the ISP's network, all the way through into the DMZ. Okay, so fantastic. We've got that working. Obviously, we haven't set up any DNS, so we could set up a DNS server and obviously map it to a domain name. That would be an extra step. But I hope this has shown you that this is a really worthwhile kind of exercise, getting our traffic going through a firewall that's restricted by default, and we obviously only allow the types of traffic that we want through. Just to do a quick final recap, guys, again, remember, from these security levels are pretty important. Why are they so important? Because, again, from this traffic, from the 100 level, traffic should be able to pass through to a lower level. So it should be able to go through from the inside interface to the outside and then back in, okay, once it's stateful traffic. And obviously, because this is a higher security group, it should be able to pass through to the DMZ also. Because again, it's going from 100 to 50 in our case, or I think we gave it a security zone of 70 in the end. But remember, if traffic is coming in from outside, which is the untrusted, it will not be able to pass into the DMZ by default, or even worse, into this internal network. Why? We'd have to add rules for that. So again, it wouldn't make sense to add a rule to come in here into the internal network where sales, marketing, and all the other departments sit. It would only make sense if you have if you want to access a publicly accessible server. And in this case, we do with this server on our DMZ. Okay, guys, I hope this set of firewall, if you like, tutorials have helped. If you do have questions, comments, please get in touch. And I hope this has been a valuable value to you. All the best for now, and thanks for watching.